that's one of the most impactful things I think I have had the opportunity to play a part in my now almost 40 years of volunteering and being a part of Atlanta Public Schools. IB develops not only the academic abilities of our children, but it develops the whole child. It teaches them empathy. It teaches them critical thinking. It teaches them to not only be interested in, but to celebrate the differences among people. IB students are fascinated by one another. It integrates the arts and sports and community service activities. And it teaches them that our students can be leaders and can take their place in all kinds of communities, their neighborhood, city, state, nation, and world. It's the best vehicle I know educationally for developing the whole child. As I said, I'm the proud parent of two IB students, both of whom I think are better students and better people today than they would have been had they not gone through the IB program. Also, it's just really fascinating to see what your kids are learning. I wanted to come take theory of knowledge. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Jessica Johnson, and let her talk about the benefits of IB for college access and scholarship opportunity.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. So I am Jessica Johnson, your at-large Seat 9 representative on the Board of Education. This is my third year as a school board member, and I'll start. That was an amazing job, Cynthia. Thank you so much for that. that historical context of the IB program for Atlanta Public Schools. I'll say, as a board member, I really feel like IB is a core component of our commitment to ensuring that every student that leaves the doorsteps of Atlanta Public Schools is ready for life after, whether that is college and or career. And what I've seen is that the students who are able to go through the IB pathways and continue and persist through those pathways have a much stronger chance of being able to maintain that persistence through college and into career. And so I'm going to actually kind of divvy my roles in my other life. I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called the Scholarship Academy that helps students find money to pay for college. And so I want to talk about the benefits of IB from that lens, because I happen to serve on a number of local, state, and national scholarship selection committees in my free time for fun. And what we will see is that students who are in the IB, when we're scoring for academic rigor, if every student has same GPA and test scores, we're looking for those point boosters. And a lot of times students who are able to show those IB credits and articulate the experiences that they've had through the IB program are able to receive additional points in the academic rigor sections for particular scholarship applications. It also creates an easier pathway for college admissions, that additional recognition. I'm sure they'll be talking about opportunities to receive college credits. What we notice at the Scholarship Academy is that students who have had even some portion of IB training throughout their matriculation are able to write more competitively. And that's not something that students are typically taught how to do. A lot of students can write well, but writing competitively so that they can be competitive for $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. It's a different writing skill that a lot of the IB students are learning to implement daily. And I think that really builds their core skill sets and prepares them for the world. And so absolute proponent, and really encourage you all to connect your students, because it's more than just the classroom and the critical thinking and the kind of global worldview. It really is a step above level of preparedness that's going to position them for college opportunities and scholarship resources. So thank you for letting me share. Happy to be a part of this network, and look forward to just the conversation that happens from tonight.
Jessica does great work with our students, not only helping them figure out where they want to go to college, but then helping them find the money to get there. I want to debunk one myth as a parent before the experts come back up. over the years, I've gotten asked often whether IB is just for top academic achievers. That is not the case. IB, and particularly the way it's done in the North Atlanta cluster of schools and at North Atlanta, is for any student who wants to take it on. There are multiple pathways. There's the career program, there's the diploma program. You'll hear more about those in a minute. But IB is beneficial for every student. And any student, I don't think correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think I am, because it's what we've always said at North Atlanta. Any student can achieve the diploma if they want it bad enough, are willing to work for it, and the school will give the student the support they need to make that achievement happen. It can really be magical for a student who has been who hasn't been identified as a top performer. And it really is transformational for those students who haven't always been told they were the top of the class. So just remember that as you hear this. And I'm going to turn it over now to Danielle Costarides and her team from North Atlanta.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Costarides, and I'm the IB Diploma and Career-Related Program Coordinator at North Atlanta High School. And I'm here with, coordinators from all the schools in our cluster. And that's what this night is about. IB from pre-K through 12th grade, and why it is important. The continuum, the IB continuum itself, is important for the schools in for the students in our cluster. You click again. So the IB program, we hear a lot of times, well, what exactly is it? Well, it is an educational curriculum. It's a program that I said lasts from pre-K through 12th grade, but in it are 4 different programs. And we have our primary years program.
So there's a bunch of us here today. I'm Cassie Natras. I am from Jackson Elementary School.
I'm Paul Singh. I'm from E Rivers Elementary.
I'm Melissa Gilbert. I'm from Garden Hills Elementary.
And we've got Sandy White from Bolton Academy somewhere in these areas. Okay, so the IB primary years program is designed for students from pre-K through 5th grade. And we have 6 IB schools, 6 in this cluster that feed into one middle school, the IB middle years program.
Hi all, my name's Brett Blader. I'm the MYP coordinator at Sutton.
And the middle years program continues from 6th grade to 8th grade at Sutton, then into North Atlanta High School from 9th and 10th grade. What I think is important to note here is for parents that are learning about this IB program, they might have just moved to the cluster and they're just trying to figure it out. All students at North Atlanta cluster from pre-K through 10th grade are IB students. I get called all the time, how do I get my child in the IB program in 9th grade? So you just need to live in the zone and you're done, okay? Because they're all IB students. It's where the diploma and career-related programs, where the students in 11th grade, going in 11th grade, decide whether or not they want to continue the IB education. At North Atlanta, we are the oldest IB diploma program school in the Southeast. We've been over 40 years. That's really that's old for IB world. And so we have been doing this for quite some time. Many schools, I meet coordinators around the state and the country all the time. And many IB schools, the curriculum is thought of as it's going to be a small program for a small portion of students. Many times, I would say when I meet diploma program coordinators, they have 15 to 30 kids in their entire program. I have over 500 because, as Ms. Brown said, we believe in North Atlanta that all students can do this work. And we do encourage them to continue that. So I manage 2 programs for 11th and 12th grade.
And she does it very well. She's being modest. So why the IB continuum? There are many reasons that we could sit here and go on and on and on about the reasons to choose IB. So we're just going to focus on a couple. And this is holistic from PYP to MYP, DPCP. So the big one, I'm gonna stand over here. So it's this focus on inquiry-based learning. So we believe that it's not what to teach, it's how to teach. So students get that lifelong learning. They're also becoming more independent thinkers. So they have the ability to think outside the box, and they're experiencing learning for themselves, which makes a deeper meaning. Next, development of international mindedness. This is a big part, which is also why students have to learn a language. So it is combined. So it is that global perspective of the world. So giving them the tools they need to succeed later in life, wherever that may take them.
And this is from pre-K through 12th grade. These themes that you see here, we don't just start that in DPCP. Like that's broad. So when the kids that stay in our cluster, they're hearing this from kindergarten through 10th grade. And then they come to me and they already know the language and there's continuity in the curriculum. And that's why it's called the IB Continuum. And why do we have that? Why is it our signature program for our cluster? We chose this because we know how well it works from K through 12. So we're gonna, if you were at a NAPS meeting prior to, this is our 3rd annual NAPS meeting with IB, and we're getting better and better. But if you were with us previously, we said this time we're going to do a little different. We're going to start backwards design and look at some IB success stories. I am very fortunate. I have some people that have agreed to come here tonight to represent, to tell us, because I can go on all day about IB DPCP and why the IB curriculum, but it's the alumni that went through it and the parents that have seen it that you probably most likely want to hear from, and not necessarily me. We're going to start with the end in mind. And we're going to start with the alumni and move then through the middle years program to the primary years program. A lot of people, you know, when you look at APS's mission statements and North Atlanta's mission statements, is we always want to prepare for college, career, and life. And if we could do those 3 things, like we feel very accomplished. And I want to speak to a couple of alumni. You guys can stand up, Lila and Taylor, if you would like. I have Lila Ward and Taylor Hunter, who are graduates at North Atlanta. And Taylor went through the IB diploma program, and Lila graduated with the CP program. And where did y'all go to college? Georgia Tech. Okay, so with the DP, and well, let's go back one slide if you don't mind. Just tell us. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're on the spot. Like, how do you feel about Taylor talking about the diploma program and just your experience as an IB student from kindergarten? If you, I maybe don't remember kindergarten, but like just staying in the cluster and how that, your thoughts about that. Why is that important?
Yeah, so I graduated from Georgia Tech at the end of 2023, and my initial realization going to Tech was that a lot of kids have all the grades, they have all the stats, but they never really learned how to learn. Like at Georgia Tech, as you may know, like there's no one holding your hand teaching you the test. Like they're giving you the material and you have to know how to learn it. And so that was like a huge thing of like, you know, having that foundation that like obviously in middle school I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is going to help me a lot when I'm in college, but like being given that during those formative years and having that foundation was so valuable to me, like reflecting on it. And even just like in my professional career, I work at Home Depot in supply chain, and I've gotten a lot of feedback that I'm constantly doing something and then I'm reflecting on it and providing my own feedback of how we can do it better next time, rather than just like running through and getting it done. Like stuff like that really stands out. That definitely, like, I don't know how many IB words I can use in so I'm open-minded, I'm thinking creatively, I'm taking risks. Like even in college, I switched my major twice, and like I wouldn't have felt empowered to do that if I didn't have that foundational knowledge of like IB. You're really forced to take everything. There is no like, you're not typecast into one thing of like, oh, I like math. Okay, you're the math kid. Like, I was in yearbook. I played golf and was captain of the girls golf team. I was taking Chinese and French, and I was doing double math. Like, I got to do everything, and that's really helped me now entering my life. Like, I have this vast, like, I can kind of do whatever I want because I've got this foundation that was given to me. So, yeah, I don't know if I answered.
I went through the career-related program, a little different. Two fabulous options. How did you feel when you got to Tech?
Yeah, well, I was also in the first cohort of the CP program at North Atlanta, so it's really great to see that it's still like alive and kicking. I think just IB in general prepared me a lot for like the rigor of college, and I felt really equipped to handle anything that they threw at me, honestly. Georgia Tech has like a reputation for being, I think there's a lot of expectations of everyone going in there has performed really well, but it's also like you said, like we were really equipped with everything that we needed to like manage ourselves. Like we were going into college like fully independent, able to be adults. Like my parents felt very good like sending me off out of the house because they knew like I had all of the foundation for it.
So what the girls were really not, they were talking about what we call the approaches to learning skills that we repeat over and over from kindergarten through 12th grade. We explicitly teach these skills. We tell the kids right now you're learning, you're practicing communication skills. Today we're going to learn risk taking. Tomorrow is going to be this activity is going to help you become a balanced person. And if you have, especially a teenager, you know that these are things that they really struggle with. They've mentioned they are risk takers. I know that they're very balanced to people, much more than I was at this age. Of course, I didn't go through an IB program, but you know, and this doesn't begin in 11th grade. Like you felt it like early on, because the coordinators and myself meet every month. We know each other very well, and we share our resources. So it's important for us, like when I have an idea, I'm going to present Thursday at our next monthly meeting that we can all use. And from all of the primary schools all the way to high school that we are going to embed in our curriculum. And the idea is the kids are going to hear it from a young age, and when they get to me, they're already ready. Okay, they're ready for what I'm going to give them in 11th grade. And yes, DPCP are rigorous. There's no doubt. Y'all can have a seat, but you don't go anywhere yet. They are rigorous. DP, I'm trying to make tonight not about data. There's so much data. I'm trying to make you just see the end result that we have at North Atlanta Cluster. Almost DP students, they surpass all other curriculums. They get into college. They get into college of their choice. They get into college. They have a higher 1-year persistence rate, a higher 4-year persistence rate, and they're more likely to go on to get PhDs and masters and PhDs. And they, of course, at North Atlanta and go to selective colleges. This is just for DP. And when I say almost 100%, I can't think of a DP student that didn't go directly into college unless they did a gap year. I'm sure there's one in my 24 years that I don't know of yet, but I didn't follow that. Yeah. And then CP is the same. It's not, there's no, some people say, well, DP is more academically rigorous. Not necessarily. Lila took 6 IB DP classes, decided to go the CP route anyway. What was your pathway?
Yeah, I was in the technology and programming pathway. And just to interject slightly,
Yes.
The flexibility that the CP program gave me, I knew I wanted to continue with IB when I was presented with that choice going into junior year. But I really liked that the CP program let me kind of focus in more on my interests. So I was able to, instead of taking IB science for 2 years, I was able to split that between AP physics and AP biology. And I was able to like kind of forge my own path within a really like reputable program.
Yes. And as we say, same, they have high persistence, a 4-year persistence rate. CP graduates, all agree, most of them agree that it definitely helped them with their academic skills. And almost all CP students receive the certificate. At North Atlanta, we're almost 100% of them received the CP certificate at North Atlanta. And again, I would say almost because I don't want to say 100%, but I can't think of any career-related program students that didn't go directly into some university. And y'all chime in if you want to say anything. Okay, so I wanted to bring this up because if you have a child in this cluster and you think about, well, he's in 5th grade, okay, these things are coming for you, okay, these questions, IB or AP, all of this. And I get asked a lot of, I'm going to go over a couple of questions I always get. Well, why does North Atlanta have IB and not AP? Because AP is something that we're just so used to. We probably grew up with that. You probably did not go to an IB school. And if you did, great, but I never heard of it until I started teaching in North Atlanta. They were like, this is what you're going to teach. And I learned it quickly. But that year and for 10 straight years at North Atlanta High School, I taught IB and AP side by side. I had 4 sections of AP and 1 section of IB and then a regular class. I know AP pretty well. I taught it for 10 years and I enjoyed teaching it. I really liked it. It's a different style. It took me a while to figure out the differences, but I have here, and I'm not going to read these for you. We're going to have this recorded, and you're going to get it on the NAPS website later if you want to go through the details. But for IB, the reason why we don't have AP anymore, what I noticed is the students at North Atlanta tended to, over time, choose not to take AP courses and end up taking IB courses. So after a while, we just had to eliminate AP because IB was so much more popular and accessible to the kids at our school. And it did not hurt when I phased out AP, when I encouraged our principal to phase out AP, duplicate classes, like don't have IB history and AP history. When I showed the data of the pass rate, I'm not trying to get into data, but I have to say, for all of our, for most of our AP classes, 11th and 12th grade, the kids weren't doing well. And we, in our IB courses, in many of our subjects, I don't think it's shared enough. Our scores beat the international average for IB scores. So it was a no-brainer to let's just do one thing, and that's IB program. And so that's why we have IB over AP at North Atlanta. Colleges. Well, we also have Miss O'Neill here, and she's going to talk about her experience as an IB parent and being a former college admissions officer. But I will say, as talking about AP real quick, this was taken from a study that was created by an organization called IBSCA, IPSCA, where they interviewed college admissions officers from Western Europe and the United States. And they asked them, can you please rank, and these are the admissions officers, your AP students and your IB students based off these skills? And I'll just let you look at that. Okay, so a couple of them stand out. I think the biggest is nurturing an open mind. Girls, do you think that IB helped you with becoming more open-minded? How do you think? Like, what experience can you tell me? Like, can you think of any experiences that you might have had? And I'll give you some time to think about that help nurture an open mind or give you to develop self-management skills, or let's see what else is higher. Encouraging independent inquiry. Any projects or anything?
Yeah. So in college, I graduated with an industrial design degree, and that is a really largely project-based major. And so I'm dealing with, or I dealt with, I guess I graduated now, but I
dealt with a lot of like long-term deadlines that I had to self-pace and kind of set my own short-term goals so that I was always working towards the end, like project deadline. And I think there's a lot of similarities to at least the CP program that I was in, where we were working towards like the end of the year paper or things like that. So learning that in high school really helped.
For me, the thing that resonates the most is like the communication piece of it, because going to tech, I feel like that's a stereotype, but like I far outperformed communication. Like I was in math classes where you had to write a math paper, and I'd already done it. And that's like, I took AP, Calculus AB, and I took IB Math at the same time. And it's completely different classes. It never got, because I'm writing a paper on math, like that's something that a lot of people at Georgia Tech have to like learn. And I've been in group math projects that you have to write a paper, and you can just see that it's harder for some people to communicate something technical. And then it's like also just helped with, I mean, in the professional setting, like I'm learning how to communicate in corporate speak, and that's completely different. But you know, learning fast and knowing how to communicate effectively is like I've learned is very, very valuable.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would say, I know DP and CP, I'm not sure if you realize this, but most of our assessments are project-based. We do have tests, but they're all essay. And even in 10th grade, it's a project-based assignment at the culminating project for MYP. And the culminating project for PYP is project-based. We're really big into that. And if we were talking previous to this, that we notice in most colleges now, maybe not my experience in college, but more so now, that they're more project-based assignments. When I was in college, it was all lecture and here's a big test. And so things are changing in this direction, and we're really preparing the kids for that next step. Miss O'Neill is here. She is a former, I'm not trying to make everything about Georgia Tech. It just played out that way. I really tried. A lot of kids aren't in Atlanta now, but want to tell us who you are?
Laura Neal. I'm a parent of two kids who've gone through North Atlanta. My daughter is class of 22, and then my son's a sophomore, so class of 27. My daughter did the IB DP program. Now she's at Swanee. She's a junior. She is thriving, and let me tell you, she knows how to write a paper, which is big in liberal arts schools. So I'd be totally prepared for that. And then, like I said, my sophomore is going into the DP program. He's a boy, so a little different than my girl, but I'm sure he's going to do just fine. I'm also a college counselor and a former Georgia Tech admissions officer. And so I can tell you this, the number one predictor going into college is going to be GPA. And with your IB classes, you get 10 points on your classes. So this bumps up kids' GPAs tremendously. Next, schools are going to look at rigor, and that's the number of IB, AP, or dual enrollment classes that you're taking. And off the top of my head, Georgia's stats, UGA, not Georgia, or not Tech, but UGA stats came out. And I think for early action, I think the average number of rigor classes was 10 to 14. And most kids who are in the DP program in North Atlanta are graduating with 16. Is that about right? So you can see like North Atlanta kids totally meet the stats for our state institutions, Georgia and Georgia Tech. And I know our acceptance rates at just those two institutions alone are higher than the state average. So coming out of North Atlanta program, our kids are competitive for top schools and the schools in our state as well.
We also have another parent, Miss Jean Cheese, that I'm so thankful is here. She has 4 sons.
I have 4 sons.
4 sons. I think, and I taught, and they're fabulous kids. And she has agreed to come back to talk to you about her experience as a mother in the IB program.
Can I just come over there just because I'm a trainer by trade, and so having my back to anyone is like very uncomfortable for me. So So I wanted to just, you wanted me to, what do you want me to tell the whole story? All right, so I have 4 sons. My oldest is Thomas, my next child is Aaron, then there's Evan, and there's Adam. All the 1, 2, and 4 did the IB program. Number 3 did not. He is dyslexic, and at the time, the CP program did not exist. So I did not put him in it because he also had a little anxiety, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, he's just not going to be able to thrive. I wish the CP program had existed then for him, because I know that the things that I saw different in what he was able to do versus my other children, they all finished college, all in 4 years, but I still saw some slight differences, and I know that that is really from the IB program. So all the boys, okay, I'll start with me saying, when Thomas started, there was no MYP. It was just, you get into high school and you get invited to a meeting and you're told about this IB program and you're going, what? And then I'm like, no way, and then there's, they brought out all the star students who talked about, oh, I have a straight A's and I'm on this team, this team, this team, this team, this team. And I was like, okay, still what? Then the counselor got up and said, your child has a better chance of getting into a good college if they do IB. I was sold. All that mattered. My oldest did not want to do it. He was like, Mom, I hear it's a lot of work. I'm like, I don't care. You're smart. You will get through it. And in those days, it was even more different than it is now because it didn't have quite the level of support, I don't think, from start to finish. You really had the rigor and you had all of the work, but I felt like what Thomas got, my number 1 got versus number 4 was, there was a gap in what the school was offering and supporting. That was before Ms. Costa Reeves. She was teaching. She was for the program. It's just evolved a lot. I think that everything that I've seen from the evolution has just secured in my mind how important IB is. But Thomas thrived. I mean, he played every sport. Well, no, he didn't. He played baseball, football, and wrestling. So he would end a sport and start a sport. So he was at school every day until 6, 7, 8 o'clock every night, and had all the classes, and was still made the National Honor Society. He ended up going to Dartmouth, and he got into because of, as a parent, not knowing, I had him apply to 15 schools because I was absolutely you got to go somewhere. And he got into all of them and got money everywhere. And he, yes, he is smart and capable, but the school really 100 IB program gave him something. Thomas was quiet, very shy, even though I know, believe, yes, he was. In a way, he was cut up in class. He was a cut up in school and a cut up in class, but he was shy in asking for help. He was shy in not wanting to take risks. And then that way, I mean, shy. And so it was a challenge for him to, and he never would want to stand up and talk in front of somebody. Now that presentations, no way. But IB gave him that skill. And the thing that I can say definitively, the ability to write. He wrote papers, literally, he'd have 5 papers due. And he would sit down right before dinner and write a paper. I got that one done. And it was like, what is happening? But I mean, he really just learned the communications, the development of writing. And at Dartmouth, he made straight A's his first semester. And and he said, it didn't stay that way, but I mean, he did well, but it was clear he was ready for college. It was clear the rigor of an Ivy League school that was liberal arts was something he was ready for. Aaron, our second child, also not only was playing sports all year, but also in every activity you can think of, debate, everything, mock trial. And he also did very well. He also went to Dartmouth. Thomas did not play an instrument. He did the minimum, but Aaron played his entire time, played the viola. And he's now a lawyer. He just Thomas got his master's at Georgia. Aaron 2 years ago, I think, graduated from Georgetown Law. And if you know anything about lawyers, they have to read a lot and they have to write a lot. And that is something that also IB really gave him the skill set for. And when I think about my youngest who graduated in 23 from Morehouse, he got almost a free ride because he had great scores on his SAT, and he graduated magna cum laude from Morehouse, and was, clearly able to do the schoolwork. Like it was, I had no question that those three were 100% ready for college. And Adam, the baby, I had to kind of pull and yank. He wanted to do the CP program. I would not let him. And I didn't because, well, as Lila pointed out, it was, new. I didn't know what it was going to be. But the main reason I put him in it and made him do it, and other children, Aaron too, because of what I saw with Thomas. Those kids bonded in a way that you want every child to have. They pulled, I used to, at those times, there were no cell phones. So it was like, why are you on, or if you did, it was like, not everybody had one. Why are you on the phone in the middle of the night? And I guess he did have a cell phone. I'm dating myself. He did have a cell phone. And he was like, Mom, I'm on the phone with people from school. And sure enough, they have a major project due. They would be up all night, keeping each other awake, talking through their projects, helping to support them through it. And they really, yes, it was competitive. Yes, I want to be, the valedictorian. But I'm also going to make sure you get across the line, and you get across the line, and you get across the line. So that level of support and camaraderie was something I had never seen in high school. And so when I look at them now, and from the experiences that they had in college and in high school, and now in life, you talk about the things that they've learned, their views of the world, their ways to accept others, their critical thinking pieces. All of those things are a key part of what I know has been their development. And I know that it is directly related to the IB program. And I'll say this one last thing about a college acceptance. So I went to Georgia, go Dogs, and I was there for some conference. I don't even know what it was, or a meeting or something. And there happened to be a college fair at the same time. So I went up to the recruiter that was, or wherever I was, maybe I wasn't at Georgia, but there was a Georgia recruiter there. And I said, oh my God, my son's going to go to Georgia. So, what do I need to do for him to go there? Please give me the information. And he was so like, everybody can't get in. I mean, he was very clear. This is not, please, graduate mom, recognize your child probably won't get in. And so then I said, he's like, what, it's all about the rigor. And I said, well, he did the IB program. I mean, when I tell you that man was tripping over himself to hand me the application, begging me to have my child apply. And I'm like, this IB thing is real. So, I mean, I really saw firsthand the reaction from recruiters and, admission people about what the rigor of IB and what it means when you say you're going to apply to a college and being able to look at that. I used to always say to people who were considering, when they've asked me, the way I was told was, you can do early decision, early application, regular application, but when they're looking at the applications, they're going to pull the IB students out first and look at their applications. And then the rest of the people will be considered. And so for me, again, that was what sold me that first time. And from Thomas's experience, I was sold all along. Anything else?
No, thank you. I mean, success story after success story for sure. And I'm not going to go over these slides because these are another option that I get asked about. Like, well, why not AP? Well, why not dual enrollment? Dual enrollment is great, like AP is great, but for us, our students are much more successful at our school being in school and staying in and graduating from that school, taking IB courses, we've noticed side by side that they tend to be better off by staying in the school and engaging in IB courses. But I will say, as a testament of teaching IB and teaching regular classes and just teaching in general and being the coordinator of the program for 11th and 12th, which I know a lot of people are very interested in 11th and 12th grade IB DPCP. I can tell you, I don't have the data, but I have the experience that I know that the students that move from our MYP and then from the students from the PYP that move to the MYP are very well equipped to do IB DPCP because they are hearing these same language. The projects are throughout the programs. It is the foundation of the success of DPCP in my mind. I can see it. Especially in that MYP phase for 9th and 10th grade, when the students come in at 11th grade, they're going to struggle if they missed this experience. And they grew up together, they're with each other, they end up in that cohort, they struggle through it in 11th and 12th grade, they struggle through it in 10th grade when they do the personal project. And it's important for them to have that IB experience because, as Cassie said in the beginning, the continuum, we're doing the same thing from K through 12th grade. It just gets more and more academically rigorous as you grow up. But we collaborate and we're trying to build off each other. So Brett's going to talk about that middle years program for us.
Good evening. I get to talk about everyone's favorite part of schooling, which is middle school. So, I'm really excited to be here. I'm the MYP coordinator at Sutton. This is my first year at Sutton, but I've been in education for over 20 years. I first got involved in IB in 2018 when I was teaching in high school. I taught theory of knowledge, and it just blew me away, the transformational power of IB. So I'm going to spend hopefully only a few minutes talking about the middle years program. And I think the big headline here is DP and CP are transformational. MYP is the preparation that gets you to that DP and CP. And I know middle school can be terrifying. I'm a parent myself, but I really hope that you leave this being convinced of the importance of the MYP. So the IB, perhaps the most unique aspect of the IB program, occurs in the middle years program. So in America, we very much view 6th grade through 8th grade as a separate, unique, distinct thing from high school. But in the International Baccalaureate program, 9th grade and 10th grade are a continuation of what we do in the middle years program. So the MYP is a 5-year program. The first 3 years happen at Sutton. The last 2 years happen at North Atlanta. Every single 9th grader at North Atlanta is an MYP student, which means that students who don't go to Sutton but come to North Atlanta miss out on those first 3 years and miss out on that foundation. And as Danielle said, you can really see that difference between students who made it and didn't make it. So it's really important to understand that that foundation is in those middle year programs. I want to, let's see, there we go. I want to talk quickly about 3 main reasons why the MYP really prepares students for the rigor and the success in middle school and in the diploma program. The first is a consistent educational approach. The second is this idea of developing young, responsible adults. And third, the way that the MYP really provides that academic foundation, which helps students succeed in those rigorous courses. So first, let's talk about the consistent approach. I'm sure it will not shock you that every couple of years there is a new educational initiative, a new priority, whether that's because of changes at the federal level, the state level, new district leadership, new school leadership. Inevitably, our teachers are dealing with, on a regular basis, needing to change their instruction in order to meet the needs of the district and of the school. And while that may be frustrating for teachers, what it means for you all as parents is that the 13 or 14 years that your children are going through their educational career, there's 3 or 4 or 5 different initiatives, which are really creating some unseen disruptions in their educational experience. And the beauty of the North Atlanta cluster is that regardless of what that new initiative is, IB serves as that foundational educational approach to ensure that teachers don't have to worry about what their new initiatives are going to be. So Danielle already talked about a lot of these. I'll go over these real quickly, but there really are 4 main components that serve as the foundation of IB's educational approach. The first is what teachers are doing. We call that the approaches to teaching. And one thing I want to highlight is that because the MYP program is 6th grade all the way through 10th grade, North Atlanta and Sutton have an extremely strong partnership. We are one program in 2 buildings, but a lot of times we'll have teachers from both North Atlanta and Sutton come together to learn and collaborate and learn about those approaches. Danielle, Dr. Jenkins, and myself work really closely to ensure that that transition is seamless. Just last week, our entire curriculum and instruction team at Sutton went to North Atlanta to do co-observations of the high school classes to see what we were seeing and really ensure that there's that collaboration. And so there really is, for students who are coming from Sutton, there's a smooth, flawless transition that doesn't occur for students coming from a different middle school. The approaches to teaching are really important, I think, especially in middle school. A lot of times, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade is those academic foundations that students really develop that help them succeed. And so an example of this is we have conceptual understanding. You heard Danielle and you heard the alums talk about how IB teaches students how to think, not what to think, right? I always describe it as it's about the process over the product. And so as a social studies teacher in a non-IB school, my goal is to have students memorize the types of government. As an IB teacher, I don't even go to the memorization. I focus in on, I want students to understand these concepts of how citizens and government interact together. And so you can see the type of classroom that your student will be in if they're in a non-IB school, where they're sitting there and memorizing and that drill and kill approach. Whereas if you come to Sutton and we have that conceptual approach and we're really discussing those different ideas. And again, like Danielle said, that really helps them succeed as they're going on to the DP and CP, as well as the colleges or careers that they do moving forward. Secondly, the approaches to learning, this is what students are doing. And just the highlight here is that students are learning the same skills from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And we all know the importance of consistency. We know the importance of having a shared language. And so an example here is self-management. We heard the alums and Danielle talk about this. In elementary school, maybe students learn about self-management and how to line up properly and how to keep their hands to themselves and take turns. As they get to middle school, we strengthen that understanding of self-management. We have students understand how to balance homework and extracurricular activities, how to deal with those emotions, and how to self-manage. And then in high school, we have them navigating all of the activities and the complexities of complex classes. And so this idea of having a consistent educational approach, especially in middle school, is vital. I'm going to talk about the learner profile in just a second. We already heard about international mindedness and the importance of that. But in an increasingly globalized world, IB makes a fundamental difference in terms of what our students are learning. I want to talk specifically about middle school with developing responsible young adults. So the most important job I have is father to my little girl, Eliza. And I'm terrified of middle school. The elephant in the room is that middle school is scary. We go from these amazing elementary schools, and for parents and students, and honestly, even some teachers, middle school can be terrifying. But here's what I want to share with you. As a dad, I have 3 goals for my daughter, right? First, I want to know that she is safe. I want to know that she is surrounded by people who are caring, considerate, and compassionate, and will respect her. Secondly, I want to know that she's going to be in an environment where she can develop those skills, where she can become caring, compassionate, and considerate. where she can interact with people of different backgrounds and different opinions and learn how to navigate that. And then third, I want to make sure that my daughter has those foundations so that whatever she wants to do after high school, she can. And oftentimes it feels like middle schools are obstacles as opposed to partners to that. What I want to share with you is that IB uniquely supports our ability to help our middle school students in particular. And one of the most important ways we do that is through the IB Learner Profile trait. So this is a poster that you will see everywhere in an IB school. You will see these traits from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. At Sutton, there are banners in our 6th grade floors that really say every single one of these traits. In our 7th and 8th grade campus, there are big giant posters. They're plastered on the wall. It is in every single classroom. Students have it outside of the door. And in fact, every month we celebrate students who are personifying these traits with awards and cupcakes. It's part of our daily announcements. And what's really cool is that students see these traits in the context of what they're learning. So they understand that it's not just them, but our ELA teachers are talking about what these traits mean in the characters of the stories they're reading. I just saw one of our health teachers teach CPR through these traits. Our science teachers are talking about how to do good labs and how to be, positive lab procedures through these traits. And so these traits truly serve as the school culture and a key component of our school culture. And I want to pull up the traits a little bit bigger so that y'all can see them and think about a middle schooler. And when I think about my daughter, I want her to develop these things, especially in middle school. I want her to be caring, even when students are awkward and they may not be their best foot forward. I want her to learn how to be caring to those students. I want her to be principled. I want her to learn integrity and honesty, even when peer pressure in middle school may say that you shouldn't do that. I want her to be open-minded. When she comes to a middle school after being in a smaller elementary school and she is exposed to students from different communities and different environments, I want her to seek to understand their perspectives. I want her to be a risk taker at a time in middle school where hormones and traditions would make little girls shy or awkward. I want her to learn how to overcome that and be risk takers. And these are traits that fundamentally, outside of anything we do academically, these core learner profile traits fundamentally transform who our students are. And I think you heard that from our alums today. So that truly is a foundational and transformational aspect that only exists at an IB school. And then finally, I want to talk about that academic foundation. Students are learning the skills to be successful. Remember, it's about how to learn, not what to learn. They're understanding those key concepts through conceptual understanding. They're getting the consistent skill development. And we've already talked about that holistic learning, how it's not just about being a math student or being liberal arts student. So truly, I think IB is amazing at every single level, but I genuinely believe that given the importance of middle school in terms of academic development, but more importantly, social development, attending an IB school fundamentally sets your student up for success. We are doing amazing things at Sutton. Our principal, Dr. Merriweather, wanted to be here today, but he has his Go team meeting. But there are transformational things that we are doing that I really would invite you to come and take a look. And as Danielle said, students who do not attend that MYP program, there's a noticeable difference. Even if you go to the best private school, the skills that you learn at Sutton will fundamentally prepare you for success in ways that no other educational opportunity would. So the last thing I want to highlight, Danielle, you can sort of help me with this, is, I said that MYP is a 5-year program. So the first 3 years are here at Sutton. The last 2 years are at North Atlanta. And some of the unique aspects of North Atlanta, I'll talk quickly about the personal project. So the culminating experience that every single 10th grader has to do is a personal project. It involves organization and self-management and international mindedness and all of those components And truly, the support that students get in 6th, 7th, 8th really helps them to succeed in terms of their 9th and 10th grade year for them. And I'll toss.
Yeah, so this really helps them be prepared. They're kind of like mini internal assessments for DPCP from 10th grade that culminates the 5-year program. We spent a lot of time and energy on making that successful at North Atlanta. So you can see from 6, 7, 8 at Sutton, they really do support the 9th and 10th graders. And some of the things that we do at North Atlanta for our NYP program is we really spend a lot of time helping the kids be successful for their project. We have 2 IB trained 9th grade counselors that help the students transition from 8th to 9th grade seamlessly. There's no problem once they get to 11th grade that they didn't have this class or that class to get into the diploma program because they all know where the kids are trying to go. We all 9th graders take a class that we developed. It's called U.S. World Affairs, but it's really an IB approaches to learning class. And it's taught, every student in the building takes it. And it's really a class that teaches the approaches to learning skills. They use content to learn the skills to help them be prepared for 10th grade. And we have a program in our school that sets us apart from many schools that is all IB. It's a program developed for IB schools where the students use in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade for all of their IB assessments called Manage Bag. So you've seen the end result of these fabulous students and parents and their testament of what it was like to go through the DPCP and heard about the importance of the NYP program at Sutton and North Atlanta to help those kids be successful. And we have the PYP, as we know, will lay the foundation for the future.
Thank you. All right. So first off, laying the foundation, it all starts at the PYP program. They purposely build on each other. So you do see a lot of parallels. If you didn't notice that, one example, all these wheels. Oh,
Touch screen, sorry.
so the wheels right here with the programs. At the heart of all of these is the learner profile. That is intentional to be focused on the learner. So not just what do you need to know, but how do you need to learn it? How do you need to know it so you can apply it later on?
I might just interject because I think you did a great job of explaining the learner profile attributes, but it really is what builds our students' character. Like being a communicator, yes, okay, we all want to be heard, but can you listen? Are you listening to what your friend is actually saying to you? Those are the skills that we are trying to develop. Those are the skills that help them develop the academic rigor after they build the social skills.
And piggybacking on that again, I used to teach first grade at an IB school, and all of my parent conferences, we would talk about academics. Like, that's great. I love that they're learning how to read, but are they good people? Are they caring? Are they kind? So I feel like that's something that's really important because those are skills that really need to be taught. And you don't think about that, but they really do. And we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but language and vocabulary development. So like I said, it all builds on each other. So we have the same common language, and that just helps our students succeed when they go to the NYP program and the DP&CP program, because they've heard it all throughout. So it's not changing, it's the same common language. So approaches to learning are going to be the same. We're gonna work on communication skills, we're gonna work on research skills. We're learning to be risk takers, we're learning to be knowledgeable. So those are common things that will not change.
I think you did a great job of really the first three. So I'm just going to jump to the fourth one, exhibition, which is the PYP's culminating activity. At the end of it, it's where they take all the skills they learn on how to be a learner profile, on their approaches to learning, on their key concepts. They build it all into a project that they collaborate with their peers on. Like project that they need to take action. That is the whole purpose of the project, is for the student to take action. I learned about this and I'm going to make a difference. That's how we were trying to send them off to middle school, to high school, and out into the world. That's how we develop them being internationally minded.
And with the exhibition, it's great for them to complete that, because in 5th grade, that's the first time they really do that type of project at that level. And it's very intense. There's a presentation piece involved, there's a paper writing piece involved, and they get to do it with a lot of hand holding, and that really prepares them for the project that they complete in the MYP, the middle years program as well as then the DPCP program. So it's just a gradual release of that same project, just with less and less handholding as they go through. So if they've been through it, they get to go through a similar type of project multiple times, starting as early as elementary school.
And it truly is a showcase of all they've learned through their IB program from pre-K all the way to 6th. And we've had mentors from North Atlanta come and help our students. And the number one thing I hear from teachers is, wow, like they've gone through the whole program. Like I see how it all lines up. They know the language. They can help them with everything. They can help them write their papers, give them tips. Like they're so knowledgeable. And I always get the comments of, like, it makes sense. I see how it goes from where we are here all the way until the very end.
With that in mind, we've gone through what it looks like from kindergarten to 12th grade, and you can see how it builds upon each other. We collaborate all the time. We're always speaking the same language to help prepare the kids for that end result of college, career, and life. Does anybody have any questions about anything? I know we're like, well, whole lot of stuff.
How does it work with like?
Okay, so I am not going to pretend that I'm going to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
But it does work with the DLI because, as you know, at North Atlanta, and of course, I am not the DLI expert. I'm not even in those meetings, but I know what I see. We have a 9th grade DLI biology course that the students take. And in 10th grade, I believe they're going to be taking a world history class. And then in 11th grade, if they continue, we'll have a plan. We have a plan.
Not yet.
Not yet, right now, they're still.
Yeah.
Right now, they're in 9th grade, and we have a plan for next year, and we're already working on how we're going to support that in DPCP or non-DPCP. It will align and it will work because all like if we were looking at the PYP slides, and all students, and one of the great things about being at our cluster and staying for K through 12 is all the kids take a language and can take it from kindergarten to 12th grade. They can switch their language if they wish, but it's a smoother transition for DP because obviously they have to take a language. And even in CP, Lila had to leave, but they have to continue language development there too. So it will align.
Okay. So the class itself should.
Were you more concerned about when they get to North Atlanta? Was that your main concern? Or just across the board? Many years till that.
They do offer courses in Spanish in Sutton already because
How overwhelming it would be. It really merges, especially with PYP and MYP, because when we think about international mindedness and the requirement for multilingualism, it really meshes very well together, both programs. So I don't look at it as a question. I just look at it as something that goes alongside. It's another way that we're teaching language.
you want to talk about how the classes are.
It aligns. Like one of the classes that he had is like the DLI media literacy class. And what they do in that class is they look at articles and things from other countries to see how other people see the media, view the media, what the media is like to the class. So it's still teaching open-mindedly and teaching them all the principles that they're learning in North and in elementary school and all the ideas.
I'm going to tell the courses they have available in Spanish. There's many of them. Okay, many of them are.
Yes, right now we have DLI 6, 7, and 8, and then 9. And then next year we'll continue to the 10th grade, and then those kids will be.
Yeah, and I will say to the question of being overwhelmed, I actually find that students with that IB background are actually able to manage that. Like if you think about what colleges were saying about how they're able to handle that, it is a smoothness, international mindedness, the ability to be balanced, the ability to be a risk taker, which they are as DLI students. So I actually think it prepares students for success, especially at the middle years program level, in ways that they want if they want it.
Can you say, Danielle, like when you started, when you were going, it was like what percent of the senior class was in DPCP? It used to be like 5%, and now we're up to like closer to.
Well, when I started.
Yeah, compared to
24
now.
years ago, we had one section of IB.
Yeah.
I had 20 kids in the building. And then we go out in MYP and then PYP. But right now you're talking about how many kids take IB courses.
What percent of the seniors, right?
We go anywhere between 45 to 48%.
So it's a really, it's not as a
It's not
small
a small,
need, it's a
yeah.
really large, yet supportive and.
It used to be that class over there, and now it's the entire.
And I'll say, I was previously at the high school in DeKalb County, and I was in Danielle's role in that school. I wanted to copy everything she was doing. Like, North Atlanta is the gold standard, and our cluster is the gold standard for IB. So.
Well, I had kind of thought at Jackson before you got there. But I did teach IB, and I mean, I now teach pre-K at a private school down the street, but I mean, I still use my IB teaching at the school. I'll be like, and there's actually another Jackson teacher where we're always in meetings being like, well, we're gonna be open-minded about it. So be a risk taker. So still use them, and it's been 6 years. So, I mean, I love the IB program for sure. And really, I think this was an amazing presentation. You should market it at preschool because, like, especially in the Garden Hills community, we just don't, like, so many of our community, I would say, goes to private school. I mean, in the whole Buckhead community, like Jackson, you know, all of it.
Son goes to Sarah Smith and she goes to Atlanta Classical, which is, you have so many choices in it.
Right.
So it's that's.
But I feel like I teach at the preschool at Peachtree Road. And that is very, heading to a private school, you know, probably 50%. But, so many people are like, we gotta get into Westminster because of getting into Georgia, like in pre-K, we are talking about this, you know, and I mean, I think if they saw the presentation you guys just did, they might be more open-minded. We're going to do, yeah. Obviously, my kids go here. I'm a public school advocate. I teach part-time at a private school. I had, yeah. It's my balance of life right now, but I am an advocate for both.
Well, hopefully what you saw tonight, and it's gonna be recorded, I believe it was recorded, is that, you know, I